Hi, welcome back. We're joined again by Joseph and Coty, who are telling us about the mind-focused coaching technique. We've looked at axis 1 and 2, and today we're going to learn about axis 3. So, Robert, give me the lowdown.
So axis 3 really was developed from a lot of the work that Dr. Gerard Meyer was doing in regard to the capacity to focus, the capacity to direct your thinking. Axis 3 operates on the concept of primary versus secondary, that at any given moment in time, we can really only focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
People like to think that they can multitask. The brain can multitask, right? We can breathe, we can walk, we can do many autonomic functions at the same time. The mind, which is where thinking resides, can only do one thing at a time. And therefore, there's always only one primary focus and everything else is secondary. Okay? So understanding that concept in depth can really help a person maintain their attention to the change they want to experience, the place they want to get to.
Okay. Coty,
Yes.
tell me your interpretation, because I'm a little lost on that one.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. For us, this meeting, what is our primary task? Is to introduce mindful coaching and all the three axes, right?
Yeah.
Secondary task to enjoy being together with between professionals and having a nice, a great chat.
Hmm.
But this is our secondary task. This is not our primary task. You, Jonathan, you have a primary task when you do your podcast.
Hmm.
Is to bring to your audience things, issues, themes that are really values that you think that you can change the life of people that are listening to you. This is your
Hopefully.
primary task.
Hopefully.
Secondary task, people enjoy this meeting. This is your secondary task. But think about, especially under stressful conditions,
Mm-hmm.
people sometimes your secondary task is overriding your primary task. And this is bad. This is bad for you. This is, imagine this, driving, learning, having with coworkers. So this is bad. So if you know, as a mindful coach trains you to stay focused even under stressful conditions, this is power. This is powerful.
I've got a question then. I read a book a while ago called The Gift of Dyslexia. And I'm dyslexic, and I've read a couple of books that have different techniques to overcome the situation where words and letters move around over the page. One is about focus. It's a visual representation that you create in space, and it allows you to bring back to a point of focus. And another is about picturing words in your mind's eye. Both techniques work for me, and therefore I inherently understand focus. But if you were to talk to, as I'm sure you had to, your children about doing their homework, and you say you've got to focus, and they look at you and go, "What do you mean?" So Robert, what do you do?
So I'm glad you mentioned this because I'll share this little story with you. We used to tease my son. We used to say about my son that he was someone who could always see the dark cloud above the silver lining. He could always see that which was missing, that which wasn't quite right. Okay, it was in his vision in the scope, right? So when he was about 11 or so, I had a conversation with him, and I said, you're always going to be able to do that. That's just who you are. There's nothing broken. There's nothing you have to fix. You're always going to be able to see what's missing. You can see what's there, but you can see what's missing too. All I can tell you is, if you choose to focus on what's missing, you won't be very happy. But it's your choice what you focus on. Are you going to look at what's there and what's missing is over here, it's to the side, or are you going to look at what's missing and what's there is over here? That's your choice. What you focus on, what you pay attention to, that's up to you. And sometimes you're going to pick one, sometimes you're going to pick the other. That's for you to figure out which one is important for you. That's the concept of focus.
Okay, that is a good sort of polar opposite type view.
Right.
I don't know, but I would imagine the nuances of coaching are a bit more grey.
Sure. So we try to help people recognize all the different secondaries that they have.
Okay.
So for example, right? Public speaking is the single most anxiety producing activity that there is. Okay. For most, of all the activities, what gets the highest rating for anxiety is public speaking. Okay. Well, what happens that generates anxiety? It's when the speaker, stops their focus on actually engaging in the speaking and begins to evaluate and assess, how am I coming across? What's the audience response? Are people yawning? Are people engaged? What's going on? And at that moment in time, they're focused. They've gone from the primary task of being a speaker and conveying what they want to convey to the secondary task of, I would like to be appreciated. I would like my speech to be well received. Okay. So now they've shifted, right? So that no longer they've kind of left their primary task to the side, and they've focused on their secondary task. Okay.
Right.
Now it's not that it's unimportant, but in that moment, they've opened the door for making a slip, because when they're not focused on that primary task of how they're speaking, that's the moment when they may misspeak, they may, lose their place, whatever it is, because they've lost that focus on their primary task.
So it does come down to primary and secondary tasks then?
Yes, yes.
Coty, have you had a chance to actually use this coaching on anyone yet?
Yes, absolutely. I want to tell you, I have a group of very nice, very cute group of teenagers, 11, 12, 13. Every Sunday we are having Growing in Values. I really love this meeting. Jonathan, I can tell you they stay focused, because I use relates, stories, legends, narrative. I'm taking them to my film. I'm letting them to get in to doing some theater, and they stay focused. When you can join information with feelings and emotions, you have no problem to stay focused. And last thing I wanted to tell you, we forget about to enjoy what we do. We are enjoying here to have this chat with you. And here we are, secondary and primary task is having a nice chat, but to enjoy. Every time you enjoy doing something, you are relaxed, you are focused, and that's a pleasure. That's a pleasure.
Robert?
Jonathan, I wanted to add something. This is very important. There are very specific and very appropriate times when you are going to and you want to shift, right? So the example that I gave in public speaking, sure, you want to take a moment to assess how you're coming across the audience. That becomes your primary task very appropriately. But you want to do it, pardon me, you want to do it in a conscious way, not in an unconscious way. When I'm conscious of shifting my primary task, then I don't make slips, because I time it. I put it in its proper place. I organize it in a way that, yes, I'm going to shift, and then I shift back. When it's done without that kind of awareness, that's when problems begin.
Well, we're going to a break very soon, and I'll just throw this spanner into the works. I do enjoy doing this, I have to say. So I would argue that the entire nature of education worldwide separates work and play, and that forever destroys the concept Coty is talking about. Think about that. We'll be back after the break. Tune in tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.